hearings, which it's interesting because this council understands the difference between legislative and administrative, and once you set your laws in place, you really are acting on an administrative basis, just making sure those laws are met. And if there's something that we don't like in the law about the way it reads on subdivisions, and we go change the law, but we essentially, when we approve a subdivision, it's approved. There were a lot of people that did not understand that distinction and think that everything's up for grabs, that there ought to be a hearing at every single subdivision hearing, or every single subdivision approval process, step in the process. And so anyway, that became one of the issues that was debated on the floor, but ultimately we prevailed, and there was only up to one hearing in the process, but not a mandated hearing. So it just comes down to applying the law. And then the one that surprised me a little bit was that I think they're going to have problems with is the one on referendum. They shifted, the state has a requirement that 2/3 vote of the House and the Senate would make a bill essentially unreferendable, or an issue unreferendable. And so what they did is try to apply the same thing to cities, towns, and counties. And what they did was they provided, instead of a 2/3 vote, mandate 100% vote of the council. I still, between you and I, don't think that's going to make it any more constitutional than it was before, but nonetheless, it's a little higher standard. DIDS died. And Lid's left.
Lid's left, kids already lost.
Lid's already lost. So, Lid's back in my day meant a whole different thing. You better remember that anyway.
No, I would.
I would know mostly. So we were happy to see that gone, because that would have been a bad precedent for any state. There is no state that does that. No state that has that type of where you allow a private entity to be able to take governmental power and wield it in any form. It just doesn't make sense. Where you have government oversight, like special improvement districts, it makes sense, right? But you've got government oversight. You've got people that were elected making those decisions. And in this, there would have been no oversight on the part of the government. So I think they came out very quickly. The lead bill we've been working on all along. But the way things happen up at the legislature is all of a sudden somebody does an end run. And you remember, just within 2 days, there was a bill on the board that essentially addressed DIDS in a whole different way, didn't consider any of the concerns that we had, and it just kind of flew through the Senate, and anyway, ultimately died. Didn't fly through the Senate, it died in the Senate. We did a push on the Hill to kill the bill, and I think, thank you. It means something when elected officials all get together. I think this is the only one where we really stuck our heels in the ground and said this session, and we rarely do that, but this time we did.
Well, and it was a united effort from all the cities.
Every single city. Every single city. Tonight we've got 260, Senate Bill 260 still hanging in the air, and that is a bill that provides for the 5th of a fifth, which only one county has imposed. But that bill is important to us because it actually allows for a division of those transportation dollars, which we could really use.
Yeah.
Right now, if they fail to pass a bill, the county has to pass it by June. If they fail to pass it by June, you lose it, period. So it's an already approved tool that's sitting there that most of the counties haven't applied yet. Mostly, I think, because of COVID, and I mean, I blame it on that, but just because there's been a delay in any type of activity of that sort. And now that they can, it only seems fair that the cities be able to use some of that funding for transportation. So we're waiting on that tonight, and thank you for your emails. The Taxpayers Association has come out with their flyer, and it's confused some of the legislators. And so we're trying to straighten that out before we actually goes for a vote on the floor. But, and then we have applied for some funding for different things, and we're kind of hanging tight and hoping that works out. particularly near the water. We're looking at Layton City, looking at trying to make sure we at least have our option of being able to use funds to connect our dams up. Unfortunately, the plaza did not make it in the priority list. Trying to think of, I think that's probably it. Just trying to think of any others because they're all coming through right now. The one that hurt us most, that we didn't know had hurt us until after we got the figures, was the sand and gravel, the redistribution of our sales tax dollars. It's the first time in 30 years that the legislature has mandated a redistribution that was different than what the cities had agreed to. And so what they did was they took all of the dollars that were attributable to ready mix plants, or to the ready mix plants. So our Geneva plant down there, which brings in roughly, a couple of $100,000 worth of tax revenue a year. They take all of that money, and usually that is distributed 50% by population and 50% by in a pool, and then distributed according to point of sale. 50% point of sale, and then 50% by population, out of a pool of money that we pool, and that's the way that we kind of decided many years ago. And Alex was, he was the guy at the front of with the flag on this, probably 30 years ago. It was one of the first things that I remember even participating in up at the legislature, and that was great. It was a hard-fought battle. Well, what the legislature did this year is they took an entire pot that comes from ready mix plants, placed it in another pot that they will design and distribute, and they took that and then they now distribute it not by population, but by the tonnage of gravel that comes out of a gravel pit. And so those cities and counties that have gravel pits will get a piece of that pie, and there's about $7 million in local funding that they will be taking out of our mix and now putting it into this separate pool. We did not know when it came out of the Senate. We didn't know what the figures were because the tax commission did not have those figures. And it went over to the House, and the House said, well, let's wait until the figures come out. Well, they had passed it by that night after indicating that we really need to know what we're doing. They passed it that night without knowing what they're doing, and the implications for government, for local government, is that 26 of the 29 counties now get tax revenues that is directly from the cities that has been taken out of our pool, and about 1/3 of the cities that have gravel pits in them are winners as well. And Layton's hit on that. Tracy did the calculation, is about $116,000 a year.
16?
So, $116,000 a year. So the plan is, it was too far gone. It was already enrolled by the time we got the figures. And so we are one of the biggest, I'd say biggest losers, but we were one of the biggest deficits of the entire bunch. There were some that were higher than us and a lot were lower. So we are going to see if we can get a veto of the bill. Chances of that are not real good, but we'll see what we can do. On the other side of it, neither house would protest a veto if it happened, just because they weren't aware of what the damage to the cities, especially Davis County cities. We got hit really hard. So, Bountiful and Layton. So that's just kind of a quick update. There are hundreds of bills. Do you have any questions on any particular bill? I know water has been a big, a ton of stuff on water. So, but I think, I don't know how the exaction bill went yet. I can't remember whether they made the changes that Mark Stratford, the exaction bill that they had originally proposed would have been very would have been very difficult to calculate or to track. You'd have to track it almost by house, household by household. And it didn't make any compensate for capacity at all. In other words, we have to keep the capacity in the lines in order to do fire protection, increasing the number of units, that type of thing. It didn't account for any of that. It just kind of went from house to house and said, how much do you use, how much do you use? And we would have had to keep track of all that. And so, and we are one of the cities that don't include water in our impact fee. We exact water is what we do. And we'll continue to probably do that. So we want to make sure that, and I'm pretty sure that language was changed, but I'll have to double check. Some of this stuff is going through so quickly, but, you know. And then there was another one that, the Great Salt Lake bill. That if we say,
Yeah.
and there's what, 4 or 5, I can't remember.
The one that was.
The one that we're, whatever you save has to go to the Great Salt Lake. And,
Colored water.
yeah, yeah. I don't think that passed.
Those
yet.
Owens? Those Owens.
Yeah,
bill, I
Owens
think-
bill.
I don't think it did. I think it was
So-
out in committee.
It hadn't last time that I looked at it, so. But that, any others, I said that you can take off of it?
Too many to keep track of.
I know, that was hard. But, so those are just some of the highlights, and thank you for your concern about the permit, the adult permit bill. I don't think that got, it did not pass. I don't think it passed out of the House. So, it would have, we worked on it, but it still would have been an unconstitutional bill because you had to look at the content of the speech in order to make a determination of whether or not it was an adult themed activity, and so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I know you've got a lot of other things you need
Yeah,
to go
we do.
through, so I'll just leave it there, and if you have any questions, please call, and we'll know more tomorrow. Tomorrow night.
Yeah, we'll know exactly then.
But
Okay,
thank you
All right.
again, very, very much for all that you do. Thank you.
sure. Okay, let's go ahead and get going on some of our items that we have here. I know we've got quite a few on the consent, so we need Mr. Jackson to kind of enlighten us, just to make sure we're understanding all the items here. So, Steve?
Okay, perfect. These are hopefully pretty quick for us. So we have 2 cooperative agreements that I'm going to go over with UDOT. It comes from their Safe Routes to School funding that we applied for some grants on, and they're both pedestrian safety projects. So one's on Rainbow Drive. You know the section of Rainbow Drive between Gordon and Fort Lane. We have a proposal for 850 feet of sidewalk and roadway improvements that we applied for. The estimated cost is $194,000 for the project. UDOT is issuing us a grant for $90,000 of that. So we're excited to be able to do that work. They're essentially participating in mostly the sidewalk portion of the project, but then we're going to fix some of the road. The road needs to be widened, and then we're going to create a better corner right here so people don't take this at 50 miles an hour anymore. So, any questions on that one?
My question is, how come it takes so long?
Oh, from 2020 till now?
Unbelievable. Yeah.
3 years.
First request.
Is that-
It's just the way their funding cycles work, and so you apply, but they're.
I didn't think it was you, I mean, it wasn't implicated you guys, it's just like, what?
When you're applying for these grants, you're actually applying for funding year 24, even though you're in 2020 kind of a thing, so that's why we're kind of at this
So
point.
everything we're doing will be like we did before.
But we can also do it in a day without having any sort of funding.
Second one.
Oh, what a rain on our parade.
Second one, 3200 West and Hillfield Road. It's Stan Layton property, the farm here. You recall, we got some funding from Davis County COG to help improve a lot of this area as well, but we've got a grant, $162,200 for this one is the project cost, and we got $85,000 from the Safe Routes to School. Essentially, it's adding sidewalk all the way along that agricultural property, and then that first house there, tying it back into the sidewalk. With the growth in this area, we've seen a lot of students that are crossing the road to get to the other side and then crossing back. So excited for this project as well in conjunction with the Davis County COG funding. And so any
We put
questions?
this head in there too, Steve, for the kids coming down towards the school, for the traffic signal.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
take care of whatever needs to happen to make sure the kids can get across that corner. So, the other funding will actually wrap this corner onto West Hillfield as well. Tyson, do you have a question?
I just want to say thanks for all the info that's in the packet. I don't know, it's a lot of info, but all of the traffic studies, the accidents.
That's actually our application to get the money, so Liz Felix actually put all that together. She's done a great job to get all this
Pretty
funding.
insightful, yeah, pretty insightful when you're looking around schools and transportation and safety.
Okay.
So that,
Steve, this is Bettina.
oh,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to echo what Tyson is saying and just thank you. Those are our neighbors, so really appreciate that. I'm not sure if I'll be able to be on the public meeting later, so I just wanted to thank you guys for putting that together and moving the project along as quickly as you can. Thank you.
Thank you.
just a quick question, knowing that it takes 2.5 years, do we have any other applications in for 2 years from now? Is this a cycle or,
Yeah, it's a cycle.
Every year
Just continually.
so we've got,
Yeah, we actually have a third grant that we're trying to get the paperwork on. That's a mid-block crossing on 2200 West over by Ellison Park. So, yeah, we do have other funding applications that we're
that'd be good,
trying to get finished up and brought back to you.
okay, thank you.
Ah, Peter Gonzalez, good job.
Yeah, you guys will have to listen to me very well.
Great. Drum roll.
Well, hopefully I can keep this going.
Now we get into the knee-deep stuff with Mr. Price.
We, this evening, we've got 7 resolutions altogether. I wanted to go through them very quickly here. We'll take a little more time with some more pictures and things out in the council meeting. The first one is for these bid awards. We have Adams Canyon Trailhead. We had 2 bidders. And Merrill Sheriff Construction came in at $418,284.08. And so they're the apparent low bidder. I think we've presented these projects before in the past, but it includes restrooms, kiosks, all the amenities that we'd have with the trailhead. Chapel Park improvements. We had 2. I'm sorry, it was 2 and then 4 on this one. So on Chapel Park, we had 4 bidders. It includes the demolition of the pavilion, installation of the pavilion, concrete paving, playground prep, and the playground area preparation, benches, landscaping, and irrigation. Merrill Sheriff Construction came in at $415,027.23. We did have, and you'll see this in the documents this evening, Landscape Specialties came in with a bid that was about half of what the others were. Their bid was for $247,486. As we looked into that, and they immediately recognized that they had missed something. And so they got us on the phone
We'll take it.
and we said, well, you need to demonstrate a reason why we should not accept this bid. And they did. They said that they had some conflict between their subcontractors and they just missed elements of the project. And so we would recommend that they be removed from the bidding pool because they are non-responsive and non-responsible.
It says pavilion installation,
Yes.
Tear
a
down,
new pavilion.
tear down the old one.
I'm missing
Yeah, they're
something.
taking down the old one and putting up the new
Is
one.
that the demolition? Oh, same place?
Yes. The third one is Gordon Avenue landscape improvements. This is between 2125 East and 2525 East on Gordon Avenue on the north side of the road. And we'll be doing landscaping, irrigation, earthwork, and some other elements. Landscape Specialties Incorporated came in at $174,164.
Are they sure?
This one, they were right in the hunt on this one.
Yeah.
And so they're the apparent low bidder. Would like to recommend awarding that one as well. Just quickly, the 3 projects, and again, we'll show this out in the public meeting, but Adams Canyon Trailhead, which already is a huge success. Chapel Park, Dave, that's where the old, within feet, that's where the old pavilion was and where the new one will be. and then Gordon Avenue along this stretch of the road. We have 4 agreements that are tied to the trailside development. And I think you guys are very...
So, are there any questions on,
I'm sorry.
we're going to transition to another project.
Yeah.
Any questions on any of the awards?
Yeah, same question for Steve also. No grass in park strips with all of these projects?
No, they're all waterways planted on these. Now, at Chapel Park, there are some areas around the park.
Yeah, sorry, I mean the road improvements like on.
The Gordon one?
Yeah, Gordon is
Rainbow.
a very waterways planting with colored rock underneath it.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
You know, we've had lots of issues with vandalism, so a lot of the restrooms and they've been closed. Is that continuing? I mean, like we would build the restroom, but it's just sad that we have to think about, well, should we even put one there? Because it's out of use, because it's been vandalized, and we just have to replace all the stuff inside of it, so.
Since we locked them all up, we have had little to no damage.
It's,
Inside, yeah.
This winter, we are going through all of our restrooms, and we're putting in programmable, time-sensitive door locks. And so they will lock automatically at a certain point, and the system will allow us to change all of the restrooms at one time. It's very efficient. So we'll be able to set the time that they're locked in the evening and the time that they're open in the morning. Along with that, because that's not effective on its own, we also were putting motion sensors in every restroom, so that once that door locks, if that motion sensor goes off, it notifies us and the police that there's someone in there and they shouldn't be. So we believe that will help a great deal.
Will there be cameras around the exterior?
For a lot of our areas that have been highly vandalized, we'll have cameras as well. And eventually, we'll move through all of the parks. But we felt that it was better to keep them out than to know who did it.
Sure.
Yeah. No.
Just a quick question for Steve, though. Could you go back one, Dave, please? This road here, you've got that road that people have come in and complained about the speed and above what's that called, the radar?
The
sign?
variable, the radar.
Yeah,
speed
how's
limit
that?
sign. We're still monitoring it. The speeds are a little higher than we want them to be, that 85th percentile, but we've got enough. I think we're 3 months into having those active, and so it's tracking those numbers, and we're working with police to figure out when the best time to go enforce and try to get things slowed down.
Okay, cool. Thanks, sorry.
Yeah, that's good.
Squirrel.
So I'm going to jump right to the finished product, I hope, and then we'll show you the steps we went through to get there. And so the first one is the Discovery Development License Agreement. And to just remind you, we'll go through these slides quickly. As you remember, that's the Trailside Development. This is the Jordan Valley Water Conservation District property, which is between the Trailside Development and UTA's property, which is shown right here. And so keep those things in mind as we go through these numbers and things. The other element that we'll talk about is a little bit of sidewalk right up here. It's just literally a few feet, but we wanted to make you aware of that also. So Resolution 2303 is an agreement with Discovery Development LLC. This allows for the license use of the Jordan Valley Water Conservation property. It allows for the license use of the UTA property and trail connections to the rail trail. It allows Discovery Development, or agrees to reimburse the city for the fees that we paid to Jordan Valley Water Conservation District. And it also outlines in perpetuity the public use of the trail and defines the Jordan Valley Water Conservation maintenance and responsibilities. And so all of the elements of maintenance and things that would need to be done, construction and things like that, in the next two documents have been passed back to the Discovery Development with one separate distinct difference, and that is that once the contractor builds the 3 trail connections for the Discovery Development, the city will maintain those, the asphalt.
those little spurs going into the development,
Yes.
10-foot wide
And so,
asphalt.
correct.
Dave, on that top one allows for the licensed use of the Jordan Valley water. Is that agricultural? Is that the only thing that they will allow on those?
Yeah, they're just natural grasses right there, and that's what they're intended to be. And so that resolution, even though it's out of order, is the one that puts the responsibilities on the developer, which we felt was appropriate. Resolution 2301 is the agreement with Jordan Valley Water Conservation District. They only wanted to sign an agreement with the city, which is understandable. This agreement provides for the access easement between Layton City and Jordan Valley Water Conservation District. It provides for the 3 trails across their property, and it outlines the maintenance responsibilities that again are passed on to the Discovery Development. Resolution 2302 is to amend our existing agreement with Utah Transit Authority for the rail trail. It provides for a second amendment to the existing interlocal agreement with UTA. It allows for construction and connection of the 3 spur trails. And all construction conditions in this agreement are then passed on to Discovery Development. There is a little clause, if Jordan Valley Water Conservation District ever comes back through and has to put a pipe in, and the trail needs, those 3 preferred trails need to be rebuilt, it has been decided that the city and Discovery Development or their leasees or their HOA would participate in the reconstruction of those trails 50-50. And then the last one is that little bit of property. 2304 is a quick claim deed from Jordan Valley Water Conservation District. They have agreed to deed us a small portion of property so that the city can build the full right-of-way of Layton Crossing Parkway. It's a very small amount of property, but it will allow us to have curb and gutter and the full width of the road. So any questions on these?
Will Discovery eventually be out of the picture and an HOA will take over that, or?
Probably several HOAs.
And is it still Destination that owns the apartments, that will own the apartments?
I'm not
I don't
sure.
know.
Guys know?
We don't know yet. They haven't told us if they're gonna split that off or. Destination was the original applicant, of course.
Right, but, and what's left of that company, I thought was keeping the apartment arm of it. Or
They haven't
rental,
submitted for
the
the
rental,
apartment.
whatever.
Yeah, haven't submitted for the apartment component yet, so I don't know who's gonna end up with that, so.
Just seems like there's several entities involved. Is there one that would be involved in the Jordan Valley easement area, part of the development? If that makes sense.
It does make sense. I think they are all, each component is these, if there are different HOAs that are put together, each area carries a
They
responsibility.
will all carry an interest in this part, this
That's how I
side of the
understand it.
development.
I think there's gonna be a master HOA that's gonna govern the entire thing. That's how we've seen these set up in the past. We have that same situation with the park, PREV. There's a master, and then there's separate HOAs underneath that, so.
As long as it doesn't come back to the city to manage.
There's a successors and assigns provision in there too, so whoever it happens to go to would accept responsibility for that, and if it would, these are recorded against the property, so.
It's a long way around of getting access, but you gotta do what you gotta do. You guys did a good job on working through this. It was fun to kind of read through the packet and understand paper code.
Again, I'm grateful to be able to take the compliment that Joel and Chad have worked extremely hard on this.
Is that why you dress up?
Someone's got to be the pretty face.
On here, I see
2303, but I don't see the other 3.
Is that, are they
Well, it's
inclusive?
1, 2, it's
Yeah,
out of
we-
order.
Yeah, it's a little out of order, David.
On the work meeting, we only
No.
put the 1. On the regular meeting, all 4 are there. Oh,
We thought we just put one, but we introduced it again and speak to all four of them rather
because
than,
I just didn't see him here, and I thought, well,
yeah.
is there a reason?
Yeah, we're just trying to expedite it a
That's
little bit. That we separately deal with in the regular year.
I understand simple things for simple minds.
No, it's good.
You don't have to.
Pardon?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. We got through those items quicker than anticipated.
Yeah.
I need to take just a quick minute here. Last year, I know we all participated in going to the Davis Education Foundation, the movie down at Station Park. So I need to find out.
That's right, Jurassic World, yeah, I enjoyed that.
So I need to find out, are you guys want to do that again, show our support? It's up for discussion. I mean, I'm fine with it, and if you guys do, then we'll go ahead and respond.
When is it?
It's April, I think. Oh, June, not till June. So June 7th, it's Wednesday, it's midweek deal. Don't know any of the movies yet, they'll probably come out with it as we get closer. But I just want to, you know, this is one of those that we have X amount of funding set aside that we kind of do different things. So that's one we did last year, and I'm just asking if you guys want to participate again. Okay. That's all I'm gonna come in now. Okay, well, we actually have do we have anything else you want to talk about?
You want to mention one thing, if you want to go into a closed door, if that's possible, and that's just to give a heads up with regard to well, Rebecca, you may remember that actually, I just don't know if you were on the council, and Bettina might not have been on the council, but if you were, I apologize. But there, and I misremembered, but remember we had a couple of HOAs, one particularly along the Layton Parkway, Kennington Park, that were not functioning properly. The developer had failed for one of the phases to not set up the HOA. Were you here then, Tyson? Okay.
Sounds
I
familiar.
apologize.
Maybe I was on
If
the
not
planning
planning commission, he would have known.
Bettina as well, but, so Gary and Chad spent hours and hours and hours trying to work with the people that were not in an HOA to set up an HOA of their own, or to join with the neighboring HOA. It's all one subdivision, but there's an HOA by phase. And there was a willingness on the part of the existing HOAs to absorb these other people, but their condition was that everybody has to come. It's all or nothing, because we don't want to absorb some and then have some people not paying their fair share. And it had to do with the maintenance of the landscaping, largely along the parkway. And so just after multiple attempts by our staff, as well as the internal people who were trying to work in good faith, there was never a consensus. There was a small block of homeowners in there that were not going to join an HOA come heck or high water. And they had their own reasons for doing that. And so, as you may remember, we came back and talked to the council about in that situation. We proposed, which was basically adopted, an ordinance that would say that you still have that, whether you're in an HOA or not, you as a homeowner have the responsibility to pay your fair share. And if you don't do it through formation or joining an HOA, then the city has the ability to impose that on part of your utility fee. So the letters were sent out, and a time period was given to have the residents respond. And I think, Chad, you said we had 3 responses.
2 positive and 1
We
negative.
had 2 that said, thanks, about time, they were part of the support of it, and 1 person said no. So we're at the point, our recommendation is that we move forward to work with finance and identify those individual properties and to impose that fee and have them begin to pay that as part of their utility bill. That's their structure. Certainly that will generate feedback to you, despite all the communications and all the explanations of this is what will happen. We're certain that will happen. So before we did that, we wanted to talk to you, see if you were still fine doing that, or if you have any other direction for us. But
So one response back, do you know how many affected property owners who would potentially be receiving these bills?
they're what?
It's been 37.
About 37. 37.
I remember Chad saying, or someone asking the question that, well, it might be just cheaper for them to just allow the city to do it and they'll just pay it on the bill. And that wasn't the intent of of what you were trying to accomplish. Is that,
No,
how does that fee structure work versus actually taking care of the landscape? So it's not that.
yeah, great question. The city will not be providing for it. What we elected to do and had the opportunity to do was we've reached out to the contractor that's meeting all the other landscaping for all the other phases.
So they're in it whether they want to.
Pardon?
So go ahead.
And ask him if he would consider adding that to his contract to be paid by the city to him, but it's not city crews doing it. And he was willing to do that on an incremental basis at a very fair price, you know, because he's already got his people out doing it, snow removal and the maintenance of landscaping. So the fee is a very reasonable fee considering there shouldn't even be a need to do it. And the hope was, I think that's what you're saying, Clay, the hope is that through providing a little bit of a incentive, that there would be a willingness for them to work together and to probably create a structure that was a little less expensive. This wasn't very expensive, but a little less expensive. And it just simply hasn't worked despite the efforts. Actually, some people in the subdivision in good faith who have tried to bring this together. There's just a handful of holdouts that have just dug their heels and said we're not going to do it under any condition. And I think some of the mindset will probably spill over. They don't think we can do it. Even though we've explained to them there's an ordinance passed and yes, we can do it. And so I don't know if that answered the question or not.
Well, I guess my question then is the fee ongoing?
Yeah, it would be,
And if it's ongoing and we're contracting with someone to do it at a certain price, and then the fee is probably more than what we're being charged by the contractor. If not, it's a mini HOA and you got it.
We are
Yes,
charging an
yes.
administrative fee.
yeah, we have an administrative fee, but it's reasonable. We haven't tried to
Yeah.
be draconian or, you know, in that regard, try to be measured about that. And
So what could happen though is we'll start out this year at one price and then if the landscaper has to have his price, then that gets passed on.
yeah, every
So every year it will be assessed, right?
as the contract
Okay.
is modified, we would anticipate if they don't come together and solve it on their own, then we'll be in this business. I mean, none of us wanted to be here.
Right.
The answer was to do nothing and let some people not, 37 people not pay their fair responsibilities, and the inequities that created, or to try to do something. We've got this one, and we have the potential of one other subdivision, and we hope we've closed the gate behind any of these others where the developers haven't failed to, or have failed to set up those HOAs properly. We think we put in some things that'll make sure that doesn't happen again, but we were left with these two, and negotiation, persuasion hasn't worked, unfortunately.
In the future, could they create an HOA?
Yeah, sure. That's the hope is they could say, this isn't working,
Hopefully after the first
we'll
year.
join with them now, so we're paying anyway. We would gladly back out of all of that.
You say there were two positive responses. Were they saying, take it out of our bill, or we would join the HOA?
Those people were willing to join the HOA, but they were just glad that some action was taking place.
So does that create, if one neighbor joins the HOA, the next one says, no, take it out of my bill, it creates a patchwork.
It'd have to be all or nothing.
All in a-
That's what
All of
they've been
them or
going,
not?
that's what they've been going through, trying to figure it out on their own.
Yeah, the existing HOA said, we won't take just one or two here and there.
Okay.
Everybody, the whole phase needs to,
Either they all
we'll have to
come.
accept you. And when they went back and talked to the individual owners, some wouldn't do it. So it squelched the deal on behalf of, the majority actually wanted to join the existing HOA. They're all neighbors, they all know each other.
Yeah.
You know, they have associations and other things, everybody in that neighborhood is part of a certain association, so they all interact with each other, but they just were unwilling to do it.
Well, my hope is that you may find that depending on how much that administrative fee is, that they will just register it and see. I mean, there is a, rather than be in an HOA, I know people, I live next to a few, who would rather pay more money to not be in the HOA. So that may be something that's perpetual, actually.
Yeah.
Especially if you need it all or nothing to be able to basically break the chain.
Yeah.
And one thing I should clarify, I think, correct me if I mistake this, Chad, is that because of some of the concerns about HOAs in general, what some of those individuals had, the existing HOA was willing to have their membership, or their affiliation only related to the maintenance of the landscaping. So they weren't being swept in with all of the CCNRs and, you know, design or whatever else is in their documentation. It was specifically for the landscaping. So they tried to, some of the fears that people have about being HOAs, they tried to peel those away, but still weren't successful. Is that fair?
That's correct, yeah, they're getting set up their own, kind of fee structure, you just collect for landscaping, that was it.
Are there collateral issues, and maybe this is just too deep into the woods, but are there collateral issues that maybe the landscaping is not the primary reason why they don't want to be in the HOA? Where they're just not following the CCNRs? I don't know, you probably don't even know that.
Probably a variety of issues, but that's at least the person that wrote in opposition said just that.
Okay.
They're just, from a, you know, just philosophical standpoint, they're against HOAs, so. Yeah.
These are mostly the backyard of these homes issues. The issues are in the backyard and side yards, right?
It's just along the parkway, and it's just about 9
So
homes
there's no
over
one
there.
fronts on the parkway,
That's right.
so they're living across the street from someone that's in the HOA and their front yard is. So it's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
It's the issues.
And that's the same for everybody in the subdivision, because there's no, whether the road was constructed, there's no houses up front on that.
Right.
So in all the other phases, it is an issue, but it's the same issue, you know, but this particular group or phase isn't being treated different in any way from everybody else in the. That was explained to them in the early processes, but the developer just didn't follow through and put the structure in place that he did on all the other phases, but not on this one, so it was an error and.
I'm not familiar with a lot of HOAs. I mean, I'm familiar with a few things they do, which is kind of funny. But how does this, what are we actually going to do? I mean, what's our landscape guy going to do?
Yeah, so there's an existing contractor that maintains
Right.
really both sides.
But what does he maintain?
He maintains the park strip
Just the park strip?
along the.
Okay.
along
There's
the-
a landscape
buffer.
buffer. Yeah.
Just a buffer.
But it's
Okay.
year round too, though, so he has to also take care of the snow removal,
That's
right?
His contractor that removes snow and he cuts it, fixes it, maintains the
Right.
sprinkling system.
Okay.
Um,
But just in the park strip?
Yeah,
Okay.
the park strip and the landscape buffer, that was good clarification.
And what?
The landscape buffer, because you have the road and then you have a park strip, 3 feet, and then you've got the sidewalk and you've got a landscape buffer behind that. All along the parkway because it's a big road, bigger road.
And he takes care of that too?
Yeah, he takes care of that.
There'll be an initial cost for them to replace some of the dead and dying
Trees?
vegetation, yeah, so. He's built into his
And
bid.
also the irrigation? The dead water?
Some, yeah, he said there'd be some repair.
Yeah.
Down before you get to the stop sign.
Yeah, that's past Flint Street.
That's
Right on
right,
that-
Angel.
yeah, right
Go
on
from
that-
Angel
Yeah.
to 1700. It's not all those sections on the north, but it's, you'll be able to see the difference.
Yeah.
It's not, there's a section there that
Yeah.
is different from the rest.
Toward the end of last summer especially, you could tell which one was.
Dying forest. Okay.
So
Anything
we'll-
else?
We'll go ahead and,
You guys good with that?
Yeah,
I
what
mean,
do you-
it's not
what do
a
you need
decision,
from
it's
us?
just an update.
just wanted you to be aware of it.
Oh,
In case you
okay.
get
Yeah,
calling
that's-
you and you'd
It's a
know
great idea.
what we get done and.
I'm not so sure we should
Be on
raise
TV
the
again,
money.
Gary. Be on TV again. On the news.
Yeah, I'm sure of that. Actually, this one, you know, it's interesting because we met on several occasions with these folks.
Yeah.
And we've really had a good set of solid folks that want this done. And it's not like we're just jumping into it and saying, you know, nobody's surprised over there.
Right.
And that's the nice piece. If they were surprised, I think it would be a totally different situation, but they've been working hard on it. And they were actually relieved, the leaders were actually relieved when finally we put into place an ordinance that would handle there's just a handful of people that just wouldn't respond. There's just no response, and so it's good. Hopefully you won't be on TV, but.
No, you.
Well, I was thinking Dave, because he's the
He's the face.
he's the face.
It's usually-
Or Steve.
Yeah. For Dave.
Good way to serve it, I like it.
Put Joelle in, and then we won't have any problems.
You're right. You are so right.
Okay, is that it? Anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right, well then, we have one more item on our work meeting agenda, which is a closed door meeting, so I would need a waiting on you.
We're buying horses.
It's true.
Yeah, well, do it after the meeting. Especially since you're in charge tonight, you got to get up here.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone out to our Layton City Council meeting this evening. The date is March 2nd, and our start time is 7:03. I'd like to let everyone know that customary, we take turns leading the meeting to start it out with a prayer and a pledge, and tonight it is Mr. Councilmember Dave Thomas's turn, so I'll turn the time over to him.
So what do we do first, prayer or the
Your choice. Your choice. You're in charge. Yeah.
Pledge of Allegiance?
Okay, we'll do the pledge first.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we'll have a short prayer to make up for the late. Our Father in heaven, we ask that thy Spirit be with us tonight as we make decisions concerning this city. We're thankful for the opportunity. We're thankful for the way in which the city has organized itself, that we are able to do the things fairly. Pray that we may always keep fairness in our mind, do the things which are right, and always be looking to make this a better place to live. We're thankful for the things which make the city great. We're thankful for the people who put in the time and effort to do that. And we are definitely grateful for them. And these things we pray for and thank thee for in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Okay, council, we have 3 sets of minutes that we need to approve. If there's no corrections on it, I'll take a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes of Layton City Council meeting January 5th, 2023, Layton City Council work meeting February 2nd, 2023, and the minutes for Layton City Council meeting on February 2nd, 2023.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we accept the minutes as written. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, we'll move on down to our municipal announcements tonight. So I know usually we have our announcements for the Parks and Rec by Councilmember Roberts.
Thank you. It's March, St. Patrick's Day. On St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, half off at Surf and Swim if you wear green. So come wear green and all day. As well, in March 24th, very popular family recreation event, the night at the library. The theme this year is dragons, is that right? Dragons. So lots fun activities for the whole family, stories might be read by some council members and other city employees, volunteers in the community. So come on out, 6:30 to 8 p.m. The cost is nothing. It's free. So bring the family out. Thanks.
Okay, that's good. Does anyone else have any announcements? Okay, I know the Arts Council has been busy working on their schedule, and they'll be announcing their season pretty soon, so you can watch for that to come up. Okay, let's go ahead and move on then to, I don't have any verbal petitions tonight, but we do have an opportunity to hear from our citizens. So if anyone in the audience would like to address this council, you're welcome to. We ask you to come up to the podium. Either side is fine. State your name and address for the record and the purpose. Okay, seeing that there's none, we're going to go ahead and move on then. Tonight, we've got several consent items, and under our consent items, we, as a governing body, can actually enact all of these items in a single motion, which is pretty customary. So what we're going to do is go ahead and start on these items. And like I said, we have several of them tonight. We're going to start out first with hearing from Mr. Chad Wilkinson regarding an amendment plat for the Hill Farm Phase 7.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As was said, this is a plat amendment. This is for the Hill Farms Phase 7 subdivision. Let's go really briefly through some slides to give some context. This is the location of the property shown on the red, with the red star there, approximately 1040 west, 1000 south. This is a little bit closer view with an aerial photo. This is the existing Hill Farms Phase 7 subdivision. You can see that this is currently under construction. There's several of the homes that have already been built. As this subdivision was under construction and through the development stage, it was discovered that there was a discrepancy between property line boundaries. There was a fence that there was a discrepancy or a disagreement on whether that was the true representation of the property line or not. The developers of the Hill Farms Phase 7 subdivision have determined that they are willing to give up some of the property that they had in their subdivision. They had anticipated in the subdivision to try to settle this dispute. So this is the purpose of this particular amendment. This is the existing Hill Farms Phase 7 subdivision. This is the proposed amendment. So if you look at this drawing, I'm going to just kind of describe. You can see there's 6 of the lots in the Hill Farms Phase 7, and there's the one lot that's part of the existing Weaver Lane Phase 1 subdivision. Lot 4 of that subdivision, that's this larger lot here shown. Now the properties, as you can see from the aerial photo, it's not on a true north-south axis there. It's kind of, the north is this way, so I'm going to be referring to that as north. So to the north of those existing Hill Farms Phase 7 lots is where that Lot 4 is located. In order to change that boundary, that subdivision, or that Lot 4 has been brought into this amendment. So it'll now be part of this first amendment for the Hill Farms Phase 7 subdivision to resolve that. The property in dispute tapers from about 8 feet on this northeast portion of the property of Lot 4 down to just a couple of feet on the, on the southwest portion of that, southeast, portion of that property. So that is the proposed amendment. This will resolve that property line dispute. This has been heard by the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission has recommended that the City Council approve the proposed subdivision amendment. And I'm happy to answer any questions if I can.
Okay, any questions, Council?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Chad, I'm just assuming everyone who in dispute, they're all okay with this, that this is after the fact of the agreement?
All of the property owners involved have either signed the plat or given their consent, yep.
Can't ask for a better outcome, really.
So what triggers the bringing the Weaver Lane lot into the Hill Farms?
The purpose for that, I guess, process as opposed to a property line adjustment, first of all, we're changing the boundary of the subdivision, so you have a mutual boundary there. As a subdivision is recorded, that boundary becomes, I guess, a hard, fast boundary that can't be changed unless you go through a subdivision amendment. The other purpose of bringing Lot 4 in is that this allows this amendment to go forward without needing all of the consent of all the other property owners on the Weaver Lane subdivision and all the other consent of all the property owners on the Hill Farms Phase 7.
Okay. So it said that that lot wouldn't be required to join the HOA, so it wouldn't be under any of the obligations of the HOA as well, right?
That's right.
And it doesn't affect, I see the neighbor to the west in the audience, it doesn't affect other properties as well, right?
That's right.
Okay, thanks.
Good question. Anyone else? Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. Wow, only one item for you tonight.
Yeah.
Mayor?
Yes.
Or, I don't know when this gentleman can speak, but
Well, actually, this is a consent item. It's not a public hearing. So he should have spoke earlier in the public comment.
So I should have asked the question before I knew what the question was, because I hadn't heard him speak yet.
you can make a.
Gary, can I override this?
You can ask for information anytime, Mayor. Okay, I'm going to ask you before I acknowledge it, is it pertaining to just this item now that you've just heard? Is that all? Okay, so you don't need to listen to everything else on here to ask your, in case there's others?
I don't know.
Okay, all right, then I'll give you access. If you could come up and state your name and address for the record.
Dick Schaefer, 1089 Weaver Lane, and thank you for making this little bit of an exception here. So it's staying the way it is, basically. His fence is staying right where it is now. Okay, and he was incorporated into the subdivision behind me because part of that red line is behind half of my yard.
So nothing changes. Whoops, nothing changes on your yard. Yeah, it just stops right there short of that property boundary.
So has anybody considered the fact that there's no fence behind my yard? I'm the only one that doesn't have a fence. So I have 2 lots that are behind my yard. 2 lots are within the width of my yard. So if those people come in and each choose a different fence, I'll have 2 different fences in my yard. You guys, nobody here represents Hill Farms, I guess. So that could be kind of weird there. Okay, so nothing's really changing for me, and or for Scott, or for any of us that have been there, that were previously there. Okay, one side thing, you know how the dark skies thing is a really big thing, and Antelope Island is a dark skies park, and that's such a really big thing now. Well, the streetlights they put up there are not like that at all. They shine light. There's so much light that we never had. And I just thought, I know I should have brought that up prior to them putting them in there. But, you know, they could maybe put a shield or something like that, because we've never had lights. I've been there for 27 years, 28 years. I built that house. And we don't even have street lights. And I think I spoke with you about this one time at the park. You know, we didn't have curb and gutter. It was a lane, Weaver Lane. You still don't have a curb and gutter, which is great. I didn't want curb and gutter. I didn't want street lights, you know. I don't want fences. I don't have a fence. I'm going to. And those lights back there. I just would have thought Layton would have thought about that, you know, when they were saying you could do this, do this, do this. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents worth. And you answered my questions. So that's it.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you. If you shut this off, I'll put this back on.
It's okay. You can go ahead and put it on. It'll be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All righty. Okay, we'll go on to item B, and Mr. Colburn's going to present that item, and in fact, he has the next, well, a total of 3 items, so we'll probably have him stay up to the mic, but we'll present them individually.
Thank you, Mayor. Bring before the council Resolution 2313, a cooperative agreement between Layton City and UDOT for the participation in the cost for a pedestrian safety project along Rainbow Drive between approximately 826 North Fort Lane and 925 North Rainbow Drive. Resolution 2313 authorizes the execution of an agreement between Layton City and UDOT for a cooperative agreement for the participation in the cost for a pedestrian safety project along Rainbow Drive as a project that proposes sidewalk to improve the safety for students and well-being of the citizens of Layton City and the general public. The city will design, construct, and maintain improvements for the project, as well as retain the contractor to perform the work in traffic control. Subject to the attached provisions, UDOT has approved the grant of funds and participation in the cost of the project with the city. The city has estimated the total cost of the improvements to be $194,000. UDOT has agreed to participate with an estimated amount of $90,000 of the project, and the city will participate with an estimated amount of $104,000 minimum. Maximum UDOT participation will be $90,000. Staff recommends the council adopt Resolution 2313.
Any questions? Well, you lucked out. I will say this is a good improvement because that street has been a lane for a long time, and being that close to an elementary school, it's warranted. Okay, go ahead and go on to item C, if you would, please.
Item 5C, Resolution 2314, cooperative agreement between Layton City and UDOT for the participation in the cost for pedestrian safety project along 3200 West between approximately 650 North and West Steelfield Road. Resolution 2314 authorizes the execution of an agreement between Layton City and UDOT for a cooperative agreement for the participation in the cost for pedestrian safety project along 3200 West as a project that proposes sidewalk to improve the safety for students and well-being of the citizens of Layton City and the general public. The city will design, construct, and maintain improvements for the project, as well as retain the contractor to perform the work and traffic control. Subject to the attached provisions, UDOT has approved the grant of funds and participation in the cost of the project with the city. The city has estimated the total cost of improvements to be $166,200. UDOT has agreed to participate with an estimated amount of $85,000 of the project, and the city will participate with an estimated amount of $81,200 minimum. The maximum UDOT participation will be $85,000. Staff recommends council adopt Resolution 2314.
Okay. Any questions on this one?
My last item is Ordinance 2304, amend Title 13-16-070, illicit discharges, and enacting Title 13-16-95, inspection authority of the Layton City Municipal Code, Ordinance 2304. An audit was done by the state of Utah on the city's municipal separate storm sewer system, MS4. I was actually there the day and went with them on that audit because they can be a little bit, let's just say, tough. The state noted changes to the municipal code that needed to be adopted to be compliant with the MS4 permit, and that's what it was all about, was getting us in compliance with this storm sewer MS4 permit. There was a couple of minimal things that they brought up, but we got great marks on their inspection, which, talking to other cities and whatnot, they didn't do as favorable. But we've dumped a lot of money into our storm sewer system in the last 30 years, thanks to Mr. Jensen getting on board and helping us put in a really good storm sewer system. We used to have storms and have water problems and flooded people all the time, and now that's a rare occurrence. Staff would recommend the council approve and adopt Ordinance 2304.
Council, do you have any questions on this item? Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Colburn.
Thank you.
Thank you for keeping up a good system. Okay, we'll go on to item number E, which is a bid award. And Mr. Price from our Parks and Recs Department will be presenting this item and the remaining of our items, which we have 7 items that he'll be presenting for us tonight. So, Mr. Price, time's now yours.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Resolution 2315 authorizes the execution of agreement between Layton City and Merrill Sheriff Construction Incorporated for the Adams Canyon Trailhead Improvements, Project 2122-1, located at 450 North Eastside Drive. This project includes the installation of a CXT restroom facility, drinking fountains, concrete pathways, a kiosk, benches, bike racks, bike repair stand, and landscape improvements. On February 7th of 2023, 2 bids were received, with MSCI submitting the lowest responsible bid in the amount of $418,284.08. Staff recommends the council adopt Resolution 2315, authorizing the city manager to conduct negotiations and execute an agreement between Layton City and MSCI for construction of the Adams Canyon Trailhead improvements. Any questions?
Questions? Okay.
Just one. The kiosk, is that the restroom?
No, the kiosk is a freestanding structure that allows us to put up informational
Signs and
maps,
stuff, yeah,
signs,
maps, okay.
things like that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, Mayor. Timeline?
We will let this out. They are expected to start this spring, and it should be a fairly short construction period. The restroom is a pre-fabricated building, so we hope to have it done this summer.
Okay, I have a quick question. On your drinking fountain, I know at one point in time we had talked about possibly taking care of dogs drinking along with that. Is that incorporated in this?
I believe we've also incorporated our four-legged friends.
Thank you. Okay, we appreciate that. This is going to be a great amenity. I mean, it's already a great trail, and the improvements that UDOT's have done up there is fantastic, but this is kind of like icing on the cake, so I think this is going to be a very good asset for our city, so thank you.
Thank you. Resolution 2316 authorizes the execution of agreement between Layton City and Merrill Sheriff Construction Incorporated for Chapel Park improvements, Project 21-05, located at 152 South Chapel Street. The project includes the demolition of an existing pavilion and playground in preparation for installation of a new pavilion and playground. It also includes concrete pathways, benches, irrigation, and landscape improvements. So this is at the same site and location as the existing pavilion and playground, and that is a similar structure to what we're putting in there. And this demonstrates some of the playground features that we anticipate having there. As you can see, that we've tried to go back to the old Rocket Park with the structure.
That's good.
On February 7th, 2023, 4 bids were received, with MSCI submitting the lowest responsible bid in the amount of $415,027.23. As you can see on the bid sheet here, Landscape Specialties Incorporated, LSI, turned in a bid of $247,486, which was determined to be not responsive or responsible. LSI asked to be released from the contractual requirements because of a serious scope of work issue between subcontractors. The staff has reviewed this request and recommends the city not accept LSI's bid due to their failure to be responsive and responsible. Staff recommends the council adopt Resolution 2316, authorizing the city manager to conduct negotiations and execute an agreement between Layton City and MSCI for the construction of Chapel Park improvements. Questions?
Questions? Go
Hey,
ahead.
Mayor, thank you. Dave, the playground equipment, this is to get it ready, prep the park. We've paid for some of the playground equipment already, and
You're correct. We have paid for the pavilion and the playground. We did that so that we could get that product ordered and on its way here.
so next question, I guess, another timeline question. When do you think this will be ready to go?
We are looking forward to a spring start on this project. This one will take a little longer, I believe, than the other one, but we anticipate moving through quickly this summer.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead,
Madam Mayor,
Watson.
yeah, I just want to say thanks for looking out for these neighborhood parks. So we talk a lot about Ellison, we talk a lot about some of the major projects, but Chapel Street's right in the middle of the city, and it's in an area where we have some lower or middle income kids, and have new equipment and all that stuff is important to them, so they can walk and so they can play, and that's what we want for the city. We want people to be able to use it. So I just as a policy, I think we just thank you for looking out for the neighborhood parks as well.
We love this park, and I think so does the neighborhood.
Well, it's pointed out. Oh, sorry.
The
Go
big
ahead.
thing is still the Rocket Park.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, we got to keep some things in the city. So thank you for that.
One quick question, and that's exactly what I was going to say. Thanks for the tradition. But the pavilion itself, is it going to be the same size as what it is now, or are you reducing that size down?
It is reduced slightly. It's not quite as large as the one that's existing there now. We have found that the one that is there currently does not get used to the full extent of what it could. Most of the reservations that we have in our neighborhood parks are smaller groups, and so we try to accommodate that size of group.
Okay, very good. And it will probably be done in time for the July 4th staging, because I know that's a pretty big event for the parades.
We will be able to stage there. I
Okay.
am not sure if this one will be done in time.
And
Thank you.
you'll make it to accommodate archery?
No, that has gone
Now
by.
that's going way back.
Yeah. There's only a couple people here, Dave, that remember that.
Okay.
Resolution 2317 authorizes the execution of an agreement between Layton City and Landscape Specialties Incorporated for the Gordon Avenue Landscape Improvements, Project 2106, located at approximately 2125 East to 2550 East. The project includes the installation of a new irrigation system, regional or water-wise landscaping, and a fractured rock mulch on top of it. On February 10th, 2023, 2 bids were received, with LSI submitting the lowest responsible bid in the amount of $174,164. The staff recommends the council adopt Resolution 2317, authorizing the city manager to conduct negotiations and execute an agreement between Layton City and LSI for the construction of the Gordon Avenue landscape improvements. Questions?
Any questions on this, council? Okay, go ahead and proceed.
These next 4 resolutions all deal with the trailside development. And so we'll try to walk through that with you. Resolution 2303 is a license agreement between Layton City and Discovery Development, LLC. Discovery Development is in the process of developing the Trailside West Planned Residential Unit Development, which is to be located at approximately 1750 West, 1000 North. The proposed development includes 3 10-foot wide asphalt trail alignments that would connect to the existing Denver-Rio Grande Western Rail Trail. The city desires the connections to encourage connectivity of residents to active transportation and the multi-use trail facilities. The Jordan Valley Water Conservation District owns a parcel of land immediately west of the proposed development, located at approximately 1800 West, 1000 North. The city and the developer approached the district with a request to secure .128 acres of property for a perpetual public trail and access easement. The district is willing to grant .128 acres of the property to the city for a perpetual trail and access easement. The developer is willing to pay $12,150 to the city to reimburse the district's fee consideration for the trail access agreement. The Utah Transit Authority owns the Denver-Rio Grande Western Railroad Trail corridor. The city has approached UTA with a request to add 3 additional trail connections to the existing rail trail. UTA is willing to grant the request through a second amendment to the interlocal agreement approved in 2010 and amended in 2011 between Layton City and UTA. All construction and maintenance conditions outlined in the trail and access agreement with Jordan Valley Water Conservancy, and the second amendment to the existing interlocal agreement with UTA, respectively, will be passed on to the developer, except for the 3 10-foot wide asphalt trail connections. Once constructed by the developer, the city will then take over ongoing maintenance for these 3 trail connections in perpetuity. Should the 3 trail connections be removed by the district for the installation of a future pipeline, the reinstallation costs of the 3 trail connections shall be shared 50-50 through the developer's assignees and the city. The staff recommends the council adopt Resolution 2303, adopting and approving a license agreement between Layton City and Discovery Development, LLC, for 3 additional trail connections to be included as part of the West Side Trail planned residential unit development. Any questions?
Okay, any questions on this one?
So in the work meeting, my mind was just on the trail connections. The whole Jordan Valley property, will the developer be maintaining that as well? That's what I got out of your proposal now is, or presentation, is that they will be maintaining that as well, the whole property.
They will. They'll be mowing the property, taking care of any weed infestations or rodents.
Okay, thanks.
It's okay. Just wondering how Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District has property up and down. I think I understand maybe UTA having property, but what's the history of, is it just, from way back? So naive question, sorry.
No, this
just as important as those rails above it.
Yeah.
This corridor runs north-south through Davis County and has been held by Jordan Valley Water Conservation District for future improvements that may or may not happen.
Sure. Okay. All the way? Okay. That would be exciting. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, this was set up a few years back, so we'll see. Yeah. Okay, any other questions?
Ask a question, get an answer.
Okay, so, and you mentioned at the far north side how this is going to connect, also the little sidewalk, right?
Yeah, we'll get there. Okay. So that takes us to Resolution 2301. 2301 will adopt a perpetual public trail and access easement between Layton City and the Jordan Valley Water Conservation District. Discovery Development is in the process of developing the Trailside West planned residential unit development. The proposed development includes the 3 10-foot wide asphalt trail alignments that would connect to the existing Denver Rio Grande Western Trail. The Jordan Valley Water Conservation District owns a parcel of land immediately west of the proposed development, approximately 1,800 west and 1,000 north. The city and the developer approached the district with a request to secure 0.128 acres of property for perpetual public trail and access easement. The district was willing to grant 1.28 acres of property to the city. The city is willing to pay $12,150 to the district as consideration for this agreement. The cost shall be passed on to the developer, who will reimburse the city. All maintenance conditions outlined in the agreement will be passed on to the developer, except for the 3 10-foot wide asphalt trail connections. The city will maintain those 3 connections in perpetuity. The city recommends the council adopt 2301, adopting and approving the perpetual trail and access agreement for 0.128 acres of property located near the Trailside West Planned Residential Unit Development owned by Jordan Valley Water Conservation District to the city. Again, questions?
It's becoming clearer and clearer. Okay. All right. Keep going then.
Thank you. Resolution 2302 provides for a second amendment to an existing interlocal agreement between Layton City and Utah Transit Authority, or UTA, regarding the development and operation of a rail to trails project on the UTA-owned Denver and Rio Grande Western Railroad corridor for 3 additional trail connections. Discovery Development is in the process of developing a Trailside West planned residential unit. The proposed development includes 3 10-foot wide asphalt trail alignments that would connect to the existing Denver-Rio Grande Rail Trail. UTA owns the Denver-Rio Grande Western Railroad corridor. In 2010, the corridor through the city was converted from rails to a 10-foot wide asphalt public trail that is approximately 3.14 miles long, traveling north-south through the city. An interlocal agreement was entered into at that time with UTA to allow the city to construct, operate, and maintain the trail through this corridor. In 2011, the first amendment to the interlocal agreement was entered into to permit the addition of trail signage, a trail connection at Ellison Park, and the connections of Case Creek Trail located at approximately 668 South Vance Drive. The city has approached UTA with a request to add these 3 additional trail connections to the existing DRGW rail trail. UTA is willing to grant this request through a second amendment to the interlocal agreement approved in 2010 and amended in 2011 between the city and UTA. All construction conditions outlined in this agreement will be passed on to the developer. The city will maintain the 3 connections in perpetuity. Staff recommends the council adopt Resolution 2302, adopting and approving a second amendment to the interlocal agreement between Layton City and UTA regarding the development and operation of a rails to trail project on UTA-owned Denver and Rio Grande Western Railroad corridor for the 3 additional trails. Questions on this one?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay.
And the last one. Resolution 2304 will accept a quitclaim deed conveying a portion of real property from Jordan Valley Water Conservation District to Layton City. For public right-of-way improvements in conjunction with the Trailside West planned residential unit development. The city requires a standard right-of-way for all public roadways. The developer proposed street layout lacks enough space for a full cross-section of public road in order to meet a full cross-section. Additional width is required to accommodate the construction of the sidewalk and park strip. And so this is a blow-up of the drawing you saw a little earlier. The area that we're talking about is that little section of red right there along the parkway. Jordan Valley Water Conservation District owns a parcel of land immediately adjacent to the west of the development. The city and the developer approached the district with a request to acquire .007 acres of district's adjacent property to provide enough space for the cross-section of the roadway. The district has agreed to quitclaim the property necessary for the complete right-of-way to the city. The staff recommends council adopt Resolution 2304, adopting and approving the acceptance of a quitclaim deed conveying a portion of real property from Jordan Valley Water Conservation District to Layton City for the public right-of-way improvements in conjunction with the Trailside West planned residential unit development. Any questions?
Okay, I guess there's no questions.
Thank you.
So you did a good job there presenting all the parties involved to be able to make this happen. So I guess we want to just say thank you to everyone that's participated in this, both within the city and then obviously outside of the city. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank Joellen and Chad for all the assistance on this. They've been the motivating force on that.
Yeah. Okay. All right, and it falls right in with our active transportation plan too, so that's kind of fun. All right, council, that brings our consent items to a close. As everyone heard, there's several items here, and we can obviously act in one single motion. So I need one of you to be brave enough to go ahead and make this motion.
Bettina's not here?
Yeah, since Bettina's not here. And just if you could, just state the resolution number and a brief of what it is.
Madam Mayor, I move that we adopt and/or approve the following consent items. Item A, amended plat, Hill Farms Phase 7 subdivision, First Amendment. Item B, which is Resolution 23-13, a cooperative agreement between Layton City and UDOT. Item C, Resolution 2314, a cooperative agreement between Layton City and UDOT as well. Item D is Ordinance 23-04, amending a municipal code title, illicit discharges, and enacting title for our storm drain system. Item E, Resolution 23-15, and accepting a bid award from Merrill Sheriff Construction for Adams Canyon Trailhead improvements. Item F, Resolution 23-16, accepting a bid award for Merrill Sheriff Construction for Chapel Park improvements. Item G, Resolution 23-17, bid award acceptance for landscape specialties for Gordon Avenue landscaping improvements. Item H, Resolution 23-03, a license agreement between Layton City and Discovery Development. Item I, Resolution 23-01, adopting a perpetual public trail and access and easement agreement between Layton City and Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District. Item J, Resolution 23-02, a second amendment to the interlocal agreement between Layton City and UTA. And item K, which is Resolution 23-04, acceptance of a quick claim deed conveying a portion of real property from Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District to Layton City.
Perfect. Who's going to second it?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second that we accept all of the consent items as presented this evening. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. That's unanimous. Okay, that pretty much concludes our council meeting for this evening. I will make a quick acknowledgement. I was hoping that there are 3 gentlemen in our city that are receiving their Eagle Scout Award tonight. They're over in the museum. They were going to try to make it here before the meeting ended, which that has not happened. So I'm going to highly encourage all of us to go over and congratulate them. And so we're going to hopefully close this meeting quickly and adjourn. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Yo, I second that one.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate those that were here.